You saved money. Maybe it took you a year, maybe longer, but you did it. A few $1,000s sitting in your savings account, and for the first time in a while, you feel like you're actually ahead. So you leave it there because it's safe, right? Because you worked hard for it, and the last thing you want to do is lose that hard-earned cash. But here's the problem. 6 months later, your rent goes up. Groceries start to cost more than they used to. The same lifestyle you had when you started saving now costs you about 6% more, and your savings account hasn't moved an inch. There's still that same number on the screen. But what that number can actually buy you, that has shrunk, quietly. You didn't technically lose money, you just held still while everything around you got more expensive. And if you've been sitting on cash in a low-interest account, that's been happening to you this entire time. Now, the question isn't whether you should do something about it, it's what and in what order. Here is the number most people never look up. The average savings account in the US pays somewhere between 0.01 and 0.5% interest every year. However, inflation has been running between 3% and 5% in recent times. If you want to understand exactly how that gap eats your money over time, my video on inflation breaks it down fully. But the short version is this. Every single year, your cash grows slower than prices do. You're literally losing money without spending a single cent. If you put $5,000 in a standard savings account for a year, with inflation at 4%, you haven't lost that $5,000. But you have lost the equivalent of $200 in purchasing power. That's still real money. It's just quieter than the losses you can actually see. You can think of it like a stamina bar draining in the background while you're standing still. Nothing's happening on screen, but the clock is still running, ticking away till you're bled dry. So the obvious move probably sounds like this. Invest everything. Put it all to work. And that's almost right. Almost. But investing everything is how you end up in a situation like this. Imagine you've just put your first $1,000 into an index fund. It was terrifying, but you did it. But then your car breaks down and needs $800 you no longer have readily available. Now you're either going into debt or selling that investment at whatever price the market is that day, which might leave you selling at a much lower price than you bought in at. This is the key difference between true financial freedom versus uneducated gambling. There is actually a specific amount of money that should never be invested. This isn't because investing is bad. It's definitely not. This is because cash on hand is a resource, and running out of it at the wrong moment turns what should have been a setback into a full reset. This is called the emergency fund. It works like this. You keep 3 to 6 months of essential expenses accessible in cash at all times. Not income, expenses. Think about it. What does it actually cost you to live per month? Rent, food, transport, utilities? That subscription you genuinely cannot cut on short notice? Add those up. Multiply the number by 3. That's your floor, your safety net. That money isn't an investment. It's your respawn point. It's the gap between a rough month and a financial spiral. Job loss, a medical bill, a car dying on a Tuesday morning. Without that buffer, every unexpected issue becomes a financial catastrophe. With it, most of those problems just become minor annoyances. But here's where most people get this wrong. You may have $3,000 saved, and I'm sure it feels like security. But if your monthly essentials run $1,800, $3,000 only covers you for about 6 weeks. You're not protected. You're close, but not there. Which means before you invest a single dollar, you have a specific target to hit first. And it's not just save more. It's a real number based on your actual expenses that you can calculate tonight. Once your emergency fund is where it needs to be, or while you're actively building toward it, there are further steps you must take to ensure you're investing the right way. Most people skip these steps and jump straight to whatever sounds most interesting. This is a mistake that will cost you severely. Think of these steps like a skill tree. Each node unlocks the next one properly. You don't skip ahead. First step, high interest debt. If you're carrying credit card balances above 10 or 12%, paying those down is absolutely non-negotiable. There's no investment that reliably beats a guaranteed 12% return. The video I have on getting out of debt covers how to start this. Avalanche versus snowball, which to hit first. But the principle is simple. High interest debt cancels out investment returns before they can compound. Clear it. Second, employer match. If your employer offers a retirement contribution match and you're not capturing the full amount, you're straight up losing out on free money. Whatever percentage they match up to, put that in before anything else. Third, a Roth IRA, tax-free growth, tax-free withdrawals in retirement. You can even pull out what you put in, not the gains, but your contributions, without penalty if you truly need to. The annual limit right now is $7,000 if you're under 50. Watch my video on the Roth if you need a better explanation. Fourth, a brokerage account with index funds. Broad market exposure, low fees, and years of compounding doing its quiet work. This is the step most people are picturing when they say they want to start investing. It's actually step 4. That order matters. Don't skip a level because a later one sounds more exciting. There's one piece of this almost nobody talks about, and it applies specifically to that emergency fund you're building. Because there's a much smarter place to park it than a standard savings account. No extra risk, no lockup period, just a better account that earns you something while it waits. That's next. High yield savings accounts. If you haven't opened one, here's why you should. It's still a savings account. You can still access it whenever you need it. The only difference is the interest rate. Where a standard savings account pays you 0.01% a year, a high yield account from an online bank is typically paying somewhere between 4 and 5% right now. That won't make your cash grow like an investment, but it does mean your emergency fund is fighting the inflation drain instead of just absorbing it. Now here's the trade-off that makes people hesitate. Most of these accounts are from online-only banks. No branch you can walk into. Transfers back to your main account take 1 to 3 business days. That's it. For most people, including me, that's not a real obstacle. When you go looking, you'll come across names like Marcus by Goldman Sachs, Ally, SoFi, American Express High Yield. This isn't a recommendation for any specific one, just some names so you have somewhere to start your own research. Rates shift, so always check the current rate before opening anything. It's pivotal that you do your own research in situations like this. It may be the difference between affording that apartment you've always wanted or staying broke like your high school friend who could never quite hold down a job. Here's the move. Build your emergency fund first, put the whole thing in a high yield account so it earns while it waits, and then every dollar above that number goes into the investment stack. Your safety net is now doing a job instead of just sitting there. Here's where this becomes real. Emergency fund first. Save 3 to 6 months of actual expenses sitting in a high-yield savings account. That money has one job, protecting you, and it's off the table for investing until something genuinely goes wrong. Everything above that follows the stack. High-interest debt, employer match, Roth IRA up to the annual limit. Then, and only then, a brokerage account with index funds. Now here's the question most people get stuck on. 3 months of savings or 6? Honestly, it depends on how stable your income actually is. If you're a freelancer, contractor, or have irregular work, aim for 6. If you have a stable salary job with predictable overhead, 3 is a solid start. Begin with 3. Push towards 6 as your situation develops. What you should not do is let everything sit in cash indefinitely just because you think moving feels risky. Cash held long enough stops being a safety net. It just looks like one. That distinction matters more than most people realize. Here's the question worth sitting with. How much of the money in your account right now is actually your emergency fund, and how much of it is just money you haven't made a decision about yet? Most people don't realize that there is a real difference between the two. Emergency fund money has a job. It's there to protect you. But that money sitting in a standard account with no direction, that's not safety. That's just a decision you haven't made yet. And every month that goes by without a decision is another month of the stamina bar quietly draining. Drop your answer in the comments. How many months of expenses do you actually have covered right now? There's no judgment here. Just let us know where you're at and what you're doing to improve. Here's 3 steps. Do them this week. First, add up your actual monthly essential expenses. Rent, food, transport, utilities. That number times 3 is your emergency fund target. Write it down tonight. Second, check what interest rate your current savings account is paying. If it's below 1%, search high-yield savings accounts and see what's available right now. Opening one takes about 10 minutes. Third, once your emergency fund is funded, start the stack. Work through high-interest debt first. Check whether your employer offers a contribution match and confirm you're capturing all of it. If you haven't opened a Roth IRA yet, the video on the Roth IRA is the right next step. That's where to put the first real investment dollar. 3 steps. Do them this week to change your financial life forever. Money without purpose just drifts until it's all dried up. The cash that's been sitting in your standard account without a direction isn't safe. It's just undecided, and undecided has a cost. Point it somewhere, give it a job, and your own money will start paying you back. Every dollar you put in the right place is one less dollar losing ground. Every step you take today is 10 less steps you need to make when you're old and worn out. This matters. Stack smart.